All right, NBA adds this 65 game minimum rule about 2 years ago for players to qualify for MVP awards, Most Improved Player, Defensive Player of the Year. You have to play at least 65 games to qualify for all NBA teams. So the NBA implemented this rule 2 years ago for the 23-24 season. I'm sure you guys have heard about the rule. And when they first put it in, myself, I feel like a lot of other people as well were thinking, this is badass. This is actually a pretty good rule, so players aren't load managing and missing games. If I buy, I was gonna say Miami Heat. If I buy Los Angeles Lakers tickets, and I'm gonna go watch the Lakers. If they came to my city of San Antonio, I want to watch LeBron James. I want to watch Luka Doncic. I don't want to get to the game and then hear, oh, LeBron and Luka are both sitting out for rest. They're load managing, whatever it is. And again, I'm a San Antonio fan. I don't really have a problem with load management since we pretty much invented it, but I totally understand this rule. And people are saying, oh, this rule sucks now, pretty much. This rule is so bad. My favorite player, insert your player here. Of course, I'm a Wembanyama fan. He's probably not going to qualify for Defensive Player of the Year again or MVP. So, a lot of people, reasonably so, don't love this rule and they feel like it's holding back some of their star players from qualifying for these awards. It's really not that bad. We'll get into it here in a second, and I'll tell you guys why it's not that bad and why this rule isn't really affecting awards as much as we think it is. But right here, NBA season is nearing the halfway point. It's a perfect time to take a look at which stars are in danger of missing out on major awards because they aren't going to meet the league's eligibility requirements. Again, you have to hit the 65 games to qualify for these awards. The league added minimum games played requirements ahead of the 2023-24 season. So this is the third season that the league's been doing it. And it says right here, as part of their overall effort to prevent so much load management, just like I was saying, again, the Spurs pretty much invented that. There was a game where the Spurs played the Miami Heat, and Greg Popovich was pretty much like a big old fuck you to the NBA. It was on the road. The whole game is sold out. Miami's excited to play against the Spurs and see the big three and Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker all sat out. They were all, qualified. They're all supposed to play. And last minute, Greg Popovich just says, fuck you, NBA. They all have a cold now. They're all sick now. They're not going to play. And it pissed the NBA off. I thought it was funny what Greg Popovich did. But if I was a Miami Heat fan or if it was the other side of things, and Miami's coming to San Antonio now. LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade are all sitting out. I would, I would feel swindled as well. I want to see the star players when I pay all this money for my tickets. But again, like they're saying, it's in an effort to prevent load management, so we can see all these superstar players we want to see night in and night out. But again, it hasn't really cut down on load management so much. People don't feel like it's made a difference there. Kawhi Leonard is still missing all sorts of games. Joel Embiid, some other players as well. And I'm not saying these guys are necessarily being load managed. I know the Spurs would load manage Kawhi. I know the Sixers have been known to load manage Joel Embiid in the past, but players just get hurt. Players get hurt sometimes. You can't play. Even if you add these rules, it's not going to make players play through injuries. I guess what it was more for is just that if you're healthy and you're good to play, don't sit out games just to rest or just to load manage. If you have like a little small injury you can play through, go ahead and play so the fans can see all the players they want to see play. But anyways, unfortunately that hasn't done anything to keep players healthy. Here's a look at the eligibility status of a number of big names as we head into the back half of the season. Again, a lot of players are probably not going to qualify for the awards for that reason. Another little thing there, in order for a game to count towards your total games played on the season, the player must play at least 20 minutes. You get 2 games where you can, after 15 minutes, let's see, they can leave up to 2 games after 15 minutes if they're injured, and those games will still count. So if you play like 15 minutes or less and you're injured and you leave the game, after you played at least 15 minutes, you just have to hit the 15-minute mark. You sprain your ankle, you can go sit out, and that still counts towards your total as well. Again, right? They say right here, this is to prevent players from starting a game then immediately checking out, which some guys have done in the past to keep streaks going. We've seen that happen before. But basically, they're just naming some names in here. Nikola Jokic, Luka, Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, a lot of guys that are kind of on the threshold. They may or may not get to the 65 games played. Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, of course. Wembanyama, again, I'm a Spurs fan. He probably won't qualify for Defensive Player of the Year again. He's already missed 14 games. You can only miss 17 games to still hit that 65 game mark. SGA, LeBron James. SGA, he's only missed 2 games, so he's not really at risk of missing out on the awards. Ja Morant, some other players, but the point is, moving on though, people are saying, oh no, now Wembanyama and alright, NBA adds this 65 game minimum rule about 2 years of games, Giannis, whoever it may be, and I agreed with that point, to be honest. When people first brought that point up, I agreed with them. I was like, man, this sucks. Now Wemby's not going to get a Defensive Player of the Year this year. I still kind of think that sucks. Oh no, Giannis is going to miss too many games for MVP. Jokic is not going to qualify for MVP. He probably won't. He's probably going to miss too many games. And I was thinking, man, this sucks. These guys are getting robbed. But, voters have always factored games played into the MVP equation. If we look back through here, this is all the MVPs from the entire 2000s. So we have Giannis. Giannis right here, 63 games. That was 2019, 2020. He played 63 games, so of course less than 65. He won the MVP that year. Then moving on, LeBron James in 2011, 2012. He played 62 games. Of course, less than 65. He won the MVP that year. Giannis, when he won, he was averaging 30 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a block. And when LeBron James won in 11-12, he was averaging 27 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block, basically. So that insane seasons when they won the MVPs, but it's not like players are playing 50 or 55 games, then winning the MVP award. The 65 games, it's always basically been factored in. Again, only those 2 examples, Giannis and LeBron James, that's the only 2 players of these past 25 years since the year 2000 that have won an MVP award without playing at least 65 games. So the voters have always taken availability into the equation for the MVP award. So it's not like guys were playing 60 games, 55 games, and winning MVPs. I'm pretty sure they looked at all of this before they made that rule. So I think the 65 game requirement, I think that's totally fine, to be honest. When they first put it in, it was to try to make players load manage less and make sure we see Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, some of these other players. Again, those players are just injury prone, so you can only do so much out there. But it was basically to make sure there's no Greg Popovich type situations where you're just sitting out all these players last minute, and to make sure fans kind of get what they paid for when they go to an away game. They go to a game in their home city and they miss out on Giannis, LeBron, whoever it was. But again, when this first happened, I thought the 65 game rule, I thought it was kind of bullshit. I was like, man, if someone plays 60 games and they're obviously the best player, they should still be able to win the MVP. But again, LeBron played the 62 in 11-12, and that was the fewest amount of games anyone's played the whole 2000s and won MVP. So I think the 65 game rule is totally fair, to be honest. If someone's at 64 games and they're obviously way better, they've obviously had the best season out of everybody, and they miss out on the MVP, I guess we could complain about it. It will be kind of weird, but again, over these past 25 years, 65 games has kind of been the threshold. Now they actually put that deadline rule to make it official, but you know what I mean? It's always kind of been a thing. I think the 65 game threshold is totally fair in my opinion, but please like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 7 million subscribers. Let me know what you think about the 65 game rule, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.